Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, sorry for the slight delay. Here we are. It is July 23rd. It's a Thursday. And as usual, quite a bit to talk about. Good heavens. I was sitting here scrolling. If you stop and think about it, just about a few years ago, those two verbs, trolling and scrolling, would not have had the same meaning, actually would have no meaning to me. I wouldn't have known, what do you mean trolling? And what do you mean scrolling? I don't know. Everything's changing so much. Anyway, I was scrolling, not trolling, through Twitter. And I came upon a few things that I thought were good. One, driven him to it. He's just enraged. He is in a total. I'm reading his tweets. You got to worry about his health because it's like he could just explode. And he's very bright and articulate in his rage, but boy, there's a rant here that, I agree with every word of it, but I'm glad this is coursing through his chemical self, releasing all the bad chemicals that'll shorten his life, because reading it, I don't get quite the same reaction. I'm sorry if I'm not being eloquent. Listen to him. He says, speaking of Portland, this is not law enforcement. We are witnessing state-ordered violence being loosed on the citizens of our constitutional republic. This is an outrage in a nation of the people, by the people, for the people. The mission of these men is not to secure the peace. Their objective is to spread chaos and incite fear. This is Trump's rolling Reichstag fire. This is about one thing and one thing only. It is about his failing re-election campaign and his looming repudiation at the hands of the American people, who have suffered terribly under his incompetence, malfeasance, ineptitude, and stupidity. Excuse me, 142,000 Americans are dead, and many more will perish from the Trump virus that could have been controlled, as it has been in every other advanced country. The American economy is shattered, and Trump, prepared to burn everything down, is prepared. We have arrived at an hour of profound crisis in this country. Make no mistake about it. American liberty is under threat, siege, and assault. Before the electoral repudiation of the Trump regime and its cowardly congressional enablers in 2018, Trump employed the world's most powerful military force to the southern border to fight an imaginary caravan of desperate refugees and migrants. It was a type of performance porn for the right-wing media that serves as his I don't have the rest of that. The migrants were turned into some type of invading panzer division by right-wing media that now tries to tell us that unarmed moms are a threat. The actions we are witnessing are an escalation from what has come before. The winking Attorney General of the United States has assumed the role of America's first interior minister. In essence, he is America's first thug now. Chad Wolf, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, is a former Hill staffer and lobbyist with no law enforcement background or training. He is as profoundly unqualified as Kushner and Ivanka for life and death responsibilities. He is utterly unconfirmable and has no business in his job. Okay, he goes on and on. I mean, he's just getting started. But yeah, you can't argue with any of it. Okay. Can I share another one with you that actually makes Schmidt look optimistic? Jesus. I'm telling you, this is what happens when people are forced to watch this, as he called it, rolling Reichstag fire, in their line of work. And it's hard to take in and not arrive at a frightening conclusion. And here is a tweet from author Kurt Eichenwald. And I've never seen him this pessimistic. He says, I fear the United States is irreparable. Conservative media and the GOP created an alternate reality that left millions of Americans consumed by fantasy and conspiracies. I believe they are lost in rage, addiction, and ignorance. I fear the insanity that brought Trumpism is here for good. Yep. That's my fear too, as you know. We can show Trump the door in November, but there are these tens of millions of Americans who, by virtue of their diet of right-wing radio and Fox News and the GOP and Trump, have now been brainwashed into this ignorant, enraged, and fearful group of Americans who are like sheep. I mean, it's scary. Tell me that ain't scary. That's scary. Here's a tweet by Adam Schiff making fun of the president's talking about his cognitive test in which he just aced it. I mean, they said no one had ever done as good. Brilliant. If you haven't seen that, look it up. There was a president saying because he can remember to say person, woman, man, camera, TV, that he's a genius. And he kept repeating these. He would wait, and then he would say, yes, and then I could just, when asked, out of the blue, again, what were those words? I just, no problem, person, woman, man, camera, TV. Genius. So obviously a lot of people are having a lot of fun with that. Adam Schiff, who doesn't strike me as somebody who has a lot of fun ever, of course doesn't have fun with it. He says this: we are all greatly comforted that the president can remember and comprehend the words person, woman, man, camera, TV. But it's these 5 words we wish he could understand: honesty, duty, country, compassion, decency. Schiff is always the sort of the scold, I don't mean to disparage him. He's obviously an honorable man whose rage, unlike Steve Schmidt's, takes a much more is vented in a much more controlled manner. Okay, just one more tweet I saw in the last few minutes. And this is from a guy I follow called T-Pain, and he just has this for those of us who don't understand what MAGA means, or how the MAGA works. If you're a Make America Great Again person, here is how you define the American dream. American dream is synonymous with whites rule. Western civilization, what does that mean? Whites rule. When you hear them say law and order, what does that mean? Whites rule. And for that matter, with their catch-all phrase, make America great again. What does that mean? Whites rule, right? There it is. Well, I've seen that Joe Biden seems to be talking more. I don't know, but we gotta. I couldn't believe this when I saw it. Biden says this: "We've had racists, and they've existed. They've tried to get elected president. Trump's the first one that has." What? What? Joe? Dear God. Joe, I hate to tell him this, but I would hazard to guess that the vast majority of American presidents have been racist, right? I mean, it's almost the definition of American, let alone someone who would rise to that level where their fellow Americans would elect them in the first place. Yeah, of course, racist. You think Trump is the first racist in the White House? Jeez, Joe. So, just something I thought was better left unsaid, since it just doesn't make any sense. So speaking of racism, I happened to finally watch a piece I'd been intending to on Netflix, and it features James Baldwin, the great author, thinker, American, who couldn't stand this country after a while, living in it as a black man, and ran to France, and then came back when he felt he needed to make a stand again. But if you haven't watched this piece, I really heartily recommend it. I Am Not Your Negro is the title. I Am Not Your Negro. And I was watching it the other night, and excuse me, he was so effortlessly eloquent, it seems. When often I think, I have to talk off the top of my head, yabbity, 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 yeah. And every once in a while, something, coherent might slip out. But if you're just talking off the top of your head, the odds are you're not going to be talking in necessarily well-constructed sentences that pick just the right words that cohere from the first to the second to the third. Building a case. That in order to do. I always said, if you're a writer, you have the luxury of sitting and making sure that you are saying exactly what you want to say and as well as you can say it. I've always fallen back on that for explaining why I sometimes seem totally incoherent. If I could just write all this down, I'd be much more eloquent. But James Baldwin, as I watched him and his appearances on like the Dick Cavett show and other interviews, man, this is a writer who, when he was just bang on the spot, talking off the top of his brilliant head, would speak so eloquently and so often with this barely contained rage and contempt. And in the course of this documentary, I Am Not Your Negro, there is a clip of him on the Dick Cavett show. And I am watching him and just being blown away. And then he says something. And I thought, wait, I gotta hear that again. And thank God for pause buttons and rewinds. And I went back and I had to write it down. And I have, since writing it down, become, I keep it out on my coffee table because I read it every once in a while. It had such an impact on me when I first heard it and pressed that pause button. So I'm going to read my scribbled transcript of it to you. This is James Baldwin speaking off the top of his head on the Dick Cavett show, and I'm not clear at what the year is. It's sometime in the 60s, okay? And they're talking about being black in America, or Negro, as it was then. And Baldwin says this: there are days when you wonder what your role is in this country and what your future in it could be. How it is that you're going to reconcile yourself to your situation here. How you're going to communicate to the vast, heedless, unthinking, cruel white majority that you are here. I'm terrified at the moral apathy, the death of the heart, which is happening in my country. These people have deluded themselves so long that they really don't think I'm human. Now, back then, in the 60s, his saying this was wow. Because I got to tell you, the white audience who heard him say this was immediately, at best, defensive and at worst filled with outrage that this black man would call them heedless, unthinking, cruel, morally apathetic, having suffered the death of the heart. And he is so right on the money. And he goes on to say of white America, they've become moral monsters. And they're still here. We're still here. Some of us I'm terrified at what is happening in my country. That even as he explains that he is not even seen as human, he somehow is still willing to see this country. Of us who cannot see how endemic and systemic the racism of this is, and how it affects and impacts black and brown people on a daily basis, a multi-time a daily basis, than we truly are. Morally apathetic, moral monsters. Anyone who doesn't see it, who can't make that effort because it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them feel bad. They feel falsely accused somehow. I didn't do that. It's just astonishing to me how many Americans who've lived their lives with the privilege of white skin that white skin bestows cannot see it. Even if you've lived at the bottom of the barrel and had a rough life, that white skin of yours made it still an easier trip than if you were born in black skin. And I was watching Dave Chappelle, another brilliant black man who offends a lot of people. I mean, so there are things he says that I get, like, wow, I don't. But I love him. I just love him. I think he's incredible. But he was talking about, we never think of this, white folks. How white people just have an easier road. He said, how come, Dave Chappelle, why was it easier, amazingly easier for Bruce Jenner to become a woman, to change his gender? Let me say exactly what he said. Why was it easier for Bruce Jenner to change his gender than it was for Muhammad Ali to change his name? Now, that's not the kind of thing I would never have put those two things together. But if you've got the kind of wondrous brain that Dave Chappelle has, yeah, there it is. Bruce Jenner had a oh my God, much easier time becoming a woman in front of America's eyes than Cassius Clay, a black man, had saying, I'm changing my name to Muhammad Ali. And if you've never seen the great documentary, I believe it's called Say My Name, about Ali, I recommend that to you as well. Roger writes, good morning, Lynn, if they exist anymore. All right. Talk about words and their change of context. He's responding to my trolling and scrolling thing. Think about how we wear masks in banks and swipe things like credit cards. Text is now a verb. In the movie Jumanji, a young man who's gotten stuck in time in the 90s was having a conversation with a modern-day teenager, and she was talking so much about missing her phone that he asked, does phone mean something different in 20 years? I guess I'm getting old. Well, we get old very fast now. My son, who's not even 30, was mentioning something like this the other day, and of course, because I am old as hell, I can't remember the exact thing, but it made me laugh because he was already noting that he feels old in listening and watching people just, 10 years younger than him or 5 years younger. And it's true, where things are changing so fast. Oh my, there ain't no way to catch up. So let's see. I want to take a moment to say something. I do recall saying something about Ruth Bader Ginsburg when we heard that she had been hospitalized, but before we had heard that her pancreatic cancer has apparently spread to her liver. And this is a death sentence. There's no doubt about it. And she's been undergoing chemo and was before we knew it. And all of this in an effort, of course, to stave off the inevitability of the cancer taking her life. And I had said before I knew what this was that I have always thought of her as such an indomitable, brave and tough woman. Inside that tiny little body, she can't weigh 100 pounds. And I said, I think, knowing how important it is that she stay above ground till this election, and frankly, with this crowd, till January 20th, that somehow she's going to, by just dint of her amazing will, face down this spreading cancer, this killer, and the minute it is safe for the country, she'll die. I mean, that's my prayer. That's my prayer. And for those of you who do pray, please, please keep her constantly in your prayers. Someone wrote the other day this: she is the embodiment of all that we believe is good about this country, of all that has been worth fighting for. The thought of losing that fight is as tragic as losing a beloved grandmother, the one who holds the family together. Stay safe, Justice Ginsburg. Help us get through this. The burden on those little shoulders. We have a call. Caller, hi.
Yes, good morning, Lynn.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm okay.
Okay. Hey, Lynn, you got me thrown off my train of thought here. First of all, in terms of Judge Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's a fierce lion.
Yeah.
She's indomitable. I mean, right, I'm a 60-year-old man who couldn't even tie her shoes. So
have you seen her work out? Have you seen her physical workworkouts?
Her mental attributes are beyond. Her mental strength.
Yeah.
Old man, almost 60-year-old man. We have that. It's incredible. What's the craziest thing, Lynn? The guy across my street, that literally lives across the street from me, he works at the medical marijuana store. So yesterday, I buy marijuana. He sold me my marijuana. So literally, my neighbor across the street works for the marijuana store. And so 10 years ago, he would have been arrested for that, or 5 years ago, or whatever, 4 years ago. Now I can just go into the store, literally pick whatever I want, and from, all the different flavors and all the different effects. And after time, you'll see what I like about the medical marijuana. Kind of custom tailorize the medicine to suit yourself. Because who knows yourself better than yourself?
Right.
Okay, so, doctors know things about you exterior to you, but you know yourself better than anyone else. So therefore, you're able to isolate and determine what you need to give you fulfillment. And I think that the way it's done it's a nice program. It's a great.
It's interesting because my sister, I was talking to Susan yesterday, and she was trying to help a woman whose husband has a debilitating and fatal disease where he would get a absolute relief from marijuana. But Wisconsin, where this woman is, does not even have medical marijuana. And Susan was trying to tell her how she could go into Illinois and what she would do. But the fact that and Susan was so angry that this drug that she knows can be so beneficial, it helped her husband when he was dying of lung cancer. It helped keep his appetite going so that he would eat. It did so many things to make his last months bearable, and that it depends on where you live, whether or not you have access to either. You have access to it, and if you don't live in one of those places, then you are a criminal, subject to arrest, which is, I don't know, crazy.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania we're like the old stogies here. I still can't believe when I go into the store, I tell them that Pennsylvania, we're the Republican old gerrymandered state. I'm surprised
that they did it. Well, they probably did it for the money. They probably did it for the money. Susan was telling me that in Illinois, there's a 45% sales tax.
And people pay it.
and people pay it. And however, if you're in California, where Susan has been,
Sure.
marijuana there, then this is recreational, marijuana
Sure.
there is incredibly affordable.
Sure.
And a better quality, and then you go to Illinois and you pay a lot more. So, I mean, all of this is nuts.
Well, they have too much in California. They would have to almost throw it out because they had abundance of too much harsh producers. And the demand, they've been doing it so long, it was not new. See, Pennsylvania, they're having a problem with demand. They have a problem with flower demand.
Well, that's what they are in Illinois, too. The demand everywhere is so much greater than the supply. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of made up, too, though, because think about this. We could produce, but they want to keep it that way. You don't want to get your demand, you don't want to have your supply too much because it'll drive the prices. So we got to have a perceived demand because otherwise it doesn't keep the prices up.
Yeah, right. And what is this all about? Alleviating suffering or making money for a few people?
Well, you know what the bottom line is. I hate to say that it's a ladder, but I'm not going to get into, or the ladder, yes, it's money. But, however, another additional benefit of the 3 years, at least if I've seen in the program, the quality is getting much better. Okay, they're really fine-tuning it down, like I said before, in terms of getting the medicine that you need, particularly to the strains or the particular medicine. They're getting to the point now where they're fine-tuning it to the point where certain strains or certain, well, they'll give you the certain benefits. You'll know after a while, you'll know what certain strains you're going to prefer and which companies. That's another thing. You see different companies, each of them they're all essentially selling the same product, but they're trying to position themselves in the marketplace. So I find it fascinating. New people coming into the marketplace, trying to get
should have gone to the African American community, the black community, who still have so many of their sons and fathers rotting in prison for selling marijuana.
Well, of course, we've done it again.
Well,
you've done it again. I mean, of course.
I'm sorry. Hey, I got to run, too. I do. I'm looking at my clock, and I got to run. But thank you.
Good talking to you, Ms. Lynn. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Always. Bye. Bye-bye. So when I was talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and hoping she stays alive, Barbara sent me this. It's a video, but let me just play a little of it. It's called Hang On, Ruthie. Well, you can imagine. Let's see what we got here. Hang on, Ruthie, Ruthie, hang on. Hey, I think I know this one. Ruthie, hang on. Now, Ruthie came from a very bad part of town. Yeah, all the Cornell boys tried to keep our Ruthie down. Now, Ruthie, we don't care what your mama, daddy do. We know you do your mama proud before you're through. And so I'm singing, hey, well, man, I want more lyrics. Yeah, no. Ruth laid down the law, ACLU. Yeah, she fought for women's right to Harvard Law Review. Columbia, too. Justice was served at EMI. Justice was served at SSI. Justice was served through Lilly and Durham. The justice is served and Ruth is still burning. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Now hang on, Ruthie. Come on, come on. Now All right. I don't know how good that was. All right. Hang on, Ruthie. Oh, God almighty. Okay. What else I got here? I got lots of stuff. So the House voted to move statues of racists. The House, 72 Republicans in the House voted for this bill, which is amazing. And now it'll go on to the Republican-controlled Senate of Mitch McConnell, who has already said he ain't even going to let it get to a vote. He says this is a decision that should be left to the states. Oh, there you go. States' rights again. Here, he remembers states' rights all of a sudden. Oh, yeah, that's what we're for, we Republicans. Because each state gets to pick two people to have these representing their states in the capital. States' rights when it suits your purposes, when, of course, you got federal troops terrorizing American citizens in America's cities, not so much. But they're going to pull down, thank God, Chief Justice Roger Taney. He was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court when the Dred Scott decision came down. And Dred Scott, if you do not know, decided that black people, slaves at the time, were not American citizens. They didn't even think they were wholly human. They were not American citizens, and they could not sue in our courts. They had no standing, no recourse. And this guy who presided over that court, for all I know, I think wrote the decision in the Dred Scott case. He has been honored for so many years in our nation's capital, and that's an offense. As Representative Barbara Lee said yesterday, it's past time that we end the glorification of men who committed treason against the United States in a concerted effort to keep African Americans in chains. Actually, it's wonderful. Steny Hoyer authored the bill, and he specifically says that when we take Taney down, we are replacing him with Thurgood Marshall, who also served on the U.S. Supreme Court, the first black to serve on the Supreme Court. Now, some states have already started to rethink who they've got representing them. I don't know who Pennsylvania has there. Arkansas, believe it or not, already has begun to move to replace one of their, total white supremacists who is representing Arkansas in the Capitol, a guy named Clark. And they're replacing him with, get this, Johnny Cash. Oh, God. And it was a few years back that in her capacity as Speaker, that Nancy Pelosi, I can't remember how many years, this is a few years ago, that she ordered Robert E. Lee removed from what's called Statuary Hall. And she put in his place a statue of Rosa Parks. Now, over time, these things matter. They matter. You can say they're just little things. Yeah, little things. But if we want to say this no longer represents the nation that we aspire to be, we're not going to give such places of honor to these horrible men when there are so many other Americans who stand for what we hope as a nation we stand for. And those people should be the ones who are so honored. Hang on a minute, dear. So, Chuck, what did you write here? Chuck says, regarding Ginsburg, let's not forget that Obama, nominated Merrick Garland for Associate Justice of the Supreme Court to succeed Scalia, and Obama was denied his right to replace Scalia. Republican Senate leaders, McConnell, declared that because Scalia's seat had become vacant during an election year, the Senate would not even consider a nomination from the president. Should we lose Ginsburg before November, you can bet they will change the rule. Oh, absolutely. Chuck, they already have. McConnell, I believe, and more than McConnell, have already said if Ginsburg dies, if a vacancy occurs before November, for that matter, I believe they said they would, even if Trump gets voted out in the lame duck period, that 3-month period between the election and the inauguration of the winner, that they would do it then. I doubt that, even for this bunch, but you would have the Senate that would then vote on that nomination would be full of Republican senators who have lost as well, who are lame ducks, and who are to be replaced by Democrats if this election goes as we intended. And that would be unconscionable. But since when does unconscionable prevent Republicans from action? But she absolutely has to stay alive till the election. Because even if she dies, God help us, in October, they will replace her in a blink of an eye with someone who's probably 12 years old. Hey, baseball season starts today. And I was looking forward to the Blue Jays, the Toronto Blue Jays, using PNC Park. So we'd have like 2 lousy teams. Are the Blue Jays lousy? I think, maybe, to root for. But that ain't going to happen because the governor said that ain't going to happen. And he did it because Pittsburgh is right now a bit of a hot spot, aren't we? And we don't need people coming in from other places. And it's sad, but, the rules got to apply, whether baseball or whatever. So anyway, we have more callers, so let's get back to the phones. Hi, how you doing?
Hey,
hello.
Lynn.
Yeah, hi.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
I have a statue of Jefferson Davis.
Good for them.
Absolutely. The capital of the Confederacy.
Right.
They finally got rid of that guy.
Yeah. Standing is they still have a big statue of Robert E. Lee there that they can't touch because who owns it? Somebody else. It's on state land or federal land or something. But the ones that they have, the power to get rid of, that the city has the power to get, they've done it, which is amazing. I had meant to, when Sally Wiggin was on, I had meant to talk to her about that and then forgot to because she grew up in Richmond and knows it well and couldn't wait to get the hell out, frankly.
It might explain a few things.
Yeah, well, she was a Yankee and her father was transferred down there to work, and her family always felt like they didn't belong there.
No, I took a tour through that city one time on one of them little buses.
Mm-hmm.
On the bus, they were like, and this is where the blacks...
We've lost you. I don't know what happened. You're not on the phone anymore.
Up there?
No, you just got real quiet.
Oh, well,
I can't hear you. I don't know why. I'm going to have to let you go because I can't... Oh, there you are. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
No, you're gone again. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you go. Because I don't know if it's you, me, or whatever. I can't hear you. Thank you, though, for that, because I had wanted to mention it. Thank you. And we have another caller. Can we try to see if we can hear that caller? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Real quick, my neighbor always says about the Republican Party and those evangelist people, they're good at picking out the Bible and the Constitution have something in common. They pick out what they like out of it and they'll recite it, but when it's something they don't like, they just completely ignore it. And that's what they do with state rights. Same things they do with the Bible. They won't read something else. They only read what suits their agenda.
Right.
He says that all the time.
Well, it's true. You cherry pick. That's right. That's always...
That's what they do.
I think that's what all of us do, don't we?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Bye. So, says here that because of a national backlog that has stymied efforts by public health agencies to battle the pandemic, the FDA on Saturday granted Quest Diagnostics, which is, doing a lot of these tests, reading them, has given Quest emergency authorization to conduct what's called specimen pooling. And that is a procedure that permits the lab to screen a large number of specimens, and if the pool tests negative, all the individuals in that pool are diagnosed negative. Does that work? Really? Quest is saying they've got a 2-week lag right now. They get a test in, it's taken them 2 weeks. And they say this is because of the surge from the south and southwest and the west. And get this, in March, Quest performed about 400,000 tests in the entire month of March, 400,000. July, 8.3 million and counting. So, I don't know. It says Pitt is, they're going to have this staggered thing where students will have to quarantine for a week before showing up, and then a week after they show up before they can attend classes in person. They start coming in on August 11th. The university intends to test 400 students a day and have the results within 24 hours because they're partnering with UPMC. And students who test positive will be able to live in separate isolation facilities. Oh, my God. I have to tell you, if I were a parent, I would not. I just think we're nuts. I do. I mean, and the fact that Pittsburgh is a hot spot right now. So I just don't know. If we won't let the Toronto Blue Jays come in to play a home game, why would we allow all these students coming back from God knows where and congregating in Oakland? I mean, this is how our response to this has just been nonsensical. They do one thing that I see, yeah, okay, that makes some sense. And then they do something else that makes no sense to me. I don't get it. I'm just saying, I don't get it. And as we saw yesterday with the hospitalization, and I never saw a day that had 8 deaths. And when we're seeing that now, this is craziness to think we're reopening. Seriously. I'm just hoping here to see if I can get, yeah, I do have it. Okay, let me get the numbers for today. Dear God in heaven. 147 new cases. That continues. The new cases continue to go down. That's good. Hospitalizations, 15 new in the last 24 hours. That's high again. And 2 additional deaths. So the hospitalizations and deaths are going to be going up, and the new cases are going down, which shows that the mitigation efforts that have been put back in place, the closing down of bars, and we're nuts. And then I suppose as soon as we get it down, we'll just open up again and just start another, because we lack the fortitude and the seriousness and the smarts to take this on. I don't get it. Anyway, I guess we're out of time. And I had so much else to talk about. Oh, well. Hey, thanks for being there. Thanks for your contributions. And I hope you have a safe and good 3 days until I see you again, okay? So, be well.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.